Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Melanie.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for doing this interview.
Great. I'm so excited about all of the things that you shared. I think it's going to be great. But this is our chance to kind of, in a more casual way, get caught up a little. It's great to see your face.
It's great to see your face.
Yeah. How are you doing? How are things going?
Great. Yeah, I'm good. I'm coming off of a really busy season. So I live in the Rockies of Colorado, and I'm a ski instructor. And we've gotten a lot of snow this year. And hi, everybody. This is my cat.
Lynn's cat.
Yep. So it's been a very busy couple of months.
Yeah. And so just to reintroduce, your memoir is Caged Eyes, an Air Force cadet story of rape and resilience. And this came out in 2017. But amazingly, you are still going strong in terms of, kind of the advocacy work that you're doing. It's a very, very relevant book right now to our cultural conversation, just with the Me Too movement, but also there's been a lot of talk in the news lately about rape and sexual assault and sexual violence in the military. So I know that you have been extremely busy. Do you want to talk a little bit about any of that?
Yeah, so in some ways it feels like my book just came out months ago rather than 2 years ago, because the conversation is it's happening everywhere. Military sexual assault is all over the news, whether it's CBS or the New York Times. The conversation is huge in the wake of the Me Too movement. And now we have hashtag #MeTooMilitary. And it's great that there's so much dialogue happening and so much attention being given to the issue. And it's also really exhausting.
Yeah. So how is that impacting you kind of in terms of your general writing life? Because I know you're also working on a second memoir. What are you doing to try to get yourself into that seat, or are you able to get yourself into that seat and get some writing done?
Yeah, a lot of days I'm not getting any writing done because the free time I do have, I'm spending talking to journalists or survivors or, staffers for some of the centers. So it's really hard to refocus on a book that doesn't have anything to do with military sexual assault. And again, it's really exciting, and it's also extremely frustrating to be stuck in that spot where I can't move forward with my own writing. So I'm trying to find the space to be able to write again.
Do you feel motivated to be moving forward with this second book?
Yeah, I do. Like I mentioned in my interview, I feel incomplete without the second memoir out in the world. It feels like something I need to write for me. Even regardless of what happens publication-wise, I feel like I need to write it. So I'm trying to remember that internal motivation I have.
Right. And I think, I know that we mentioned this in the interview, that it's kind of your journey to heal beyond the experience that you had at the Air Force Academy. And I think that as memoirists, we kind of feel that fear that we're going to get boxed into this one place, that Lynn's all about being raped in the military, and there's so much more to you than that. And so I imagine that that's kind of a motivator for you.
Yeah, it is. I mentioned this in the interview we did too, but it's hard to be quoted in the New York Times in such a way where it sounds like, being a survivor is so one-dimensional, when the truth is I've turned that experience into a memoir and into activism. And I have actual thoughts other than just the fact that I have this horrific story.
Right.
And then that aside, just like everybody else, my life continues on.
Yeah.
And
there's more to tell, right? There's more stories. So you're kind of in the midst of this kind of very busy place. You and I have known each other for a while, and I tend to call you to bemoan that kind of place of like, we're not writing, we're not, I can't get myself to do it. And and just to kind of find some support and encouragement from you. But what do you do to kind of keep yourself fueled in order to kind of fuel your creativity? What do you do?
You mean other than calling you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I take that as my special place to, be your counselor, but really you become mine, but
it's mutual. We're good at being mutual bemoaning buddies.
Good thing to have for those people out there. It's always good to have somebody who's walking through the journey with you. And we were lucky enough to find ourselves at the exact same spot at the exact same moment. So yeah,
and that spot was making ourselves extremely vulnerable with our publication of our first books, and it was amazing to go down that road with you.
Yeah.
So anyway, as far as keeping myself motivated, you know what I just mentioned about trying to find the motivation within myself, and rather than being focused on what's going to get published, or what does my agent want me to be working on, or anything like that. Like I needed to remember the reasons why I wanted this book written, the second book written. And the more I can keep focused on that, the easier it is.
And I know you're somebody who spends, you live in this spectacular place. You often, when we're on the phone, like show me pictures of the mountains or whatever, send me clips of, you in gorgeous scenery. So I know being outside for you is kind of a big part. I talk about your ultra running in the interview, but also you're a hiker, a climber, you're a ski instructor, you ski, What is important about that in terms of kind of keeping yourself grounded?
Well, it's, I'm sorry, my cat just really wants some.
I love that your cat's in this interview. My dog's over in the corner over there. I'm surprised he's not come over to visit, but
she wants to be, have her moment.
Yeah.
On the camera. Talking about sexual violence on a daily basis can be really hard. Hearing from survivors can be really hard. And, like I wrote in that blog post, and I've been talking about, I've been tweeting about, it's hard for me to hear all those stories. And I do find myself often in a place of like hopelessness and despair. But when I seek out the wilderness, it's really easy to remember that there's so much more to the world. Both in terms of like the beauty of the wilderness and connecting with other people outside. That also really lifts me up too. Yeah. So, every time I'm out, whatever sport I'm doing, I always find myself in a better state of mind. I'm better connected to my thoughts and feelings. I'm better connected to my writing. I'm better connected to other people. And I'm coming from a place of peace rather than, rage. Which I often feel.
Yeah, and I think that's so important for memoirists, especially, because I think, one of the characteristics we have is that we tend to be drawn toward, difficult and emotionally weighty material. And I think that when you live in that place, a lot of the time, it's good to remind yourself of the other stuff, that, life is not all trauma. Life is not all kind of the emotionally weighty stuff. It's beautiful mountains and blue sky and sunshine, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The word that has been coming up for me a lot lately is balance. I need to have balance. And some days it's really hard to find, as we all know, right?
Right. I think that's, for me, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and, instead of feeling like, when I'm sitting in the bleachers at her lacrosse game, like I should be writing, I think to myself, like I should be exactly right here, and I think it's more of that, don't you think? That it's giving ourselves permission to not write sometimes too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like when I'm out on a trail, stuff comes to me, and then when I do come back to my laptop, it's more efficient because I'm motivated. I've been away from it. I haven't been shaming myself for not writing. And then I'm actually making progress.
Yeah. So what would you say to, kind of the people listening who are either established writers or emerging writers about kind of how to kind of keep living this journey of being a writer, being a memoirist?
Well, what I'm telling myself right now is that I need to be persistent. Just as, I mean, Melanie, I know you know what I'm talking about with persistence. We both have, been through so much with our writing careers, and the work continues. The only way I'm going to finish writing the second book is through persistence. The only way it'll ever see the light of day is, in terms of publishing, is through persistence. It's being successful in this field is about so much more than having skill in a story. It's about the willingness to face rejection and face hardship, and pick yourself up and keep moving.
Right, right. It's putting yourself in that chair and doing the work, right? I think I mentioned to you at another point that I'm teaching a memoir workshop right now, and tonight I'm reading the Michael Ventura essay, The Talent of the Room. And his basic message is, you can have all the skill in the world, but if you are not willing to go and spend time in that room for a long, long time, you're not going to be a writer, because that's what it takes, and that sounds like what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about keeping your butt in the chair. It's about writing a million words just to produce 80,000 that are acceptable in a book. It's about sending out dozens and dozens of query letters to agents and facing rejection after rejection after rejection, just being okay with all of that.
Yeah. And even not being okay, but continuing to do it. I say that as the person who's not always okay. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Reference our bemoaning conversation.
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay too to have moments.
Well, so if people want to learn more about the advocacy work you're doing, about your speaking, and about your writing, where can they find you?
They can find me on my website, lynnkHall.com, LYNNKHALL.com. I'm also on Twitter, I think the same handle, Lynn K Hall, and I'm on Instagram if you want to follow my pretty mountain pictures.
Yeah, those are really good. You're going to want to do that, everybody. So we are thrilled that you wrote this book, and we're really excited for what's coming with you, Lynn. And I'm just so grateful for our friendship and the opportunity to talk to you. So thank you.
Thanks, Melanie.